Maryland versus Virginia. Which one is better? All right, well, ask any local which is better, Maryland or Virginia, and you are likely to find yourself in the middle of a good old-fashioned catfight. Seinfeld, anyone? Love that episode. Opinions are strong here when it comes to state pride, and that is not just even among people who grew up here. It's people who move here will automatically, immediately end up identifying with one state or another, even from other parts of the country or the world. And that is so fascinating to me, that people will move here from somewhere else and instantly become attached. So I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. On this channel, I talk about everything with living in Washington, DC, got a real estate focus, and talk about neighborhoods and buying and selling houses here. If that's your thing and you're interested, please subscribe or hit the, and also hit the bell. It will give you notifications every time I've got a new video out, which I do every Wednesday. And also my contact info is here on the screen. Should you need it, I will also put it at the end of the video. So what are the differences between Maryland and Virginia? Well, each state has a variety of towns and cities to offer, but is Virginia's reputation for being down where the South begins, or Maryland's reputation for being Marylinistan warranted? Let's find out. Also, if you're from an Istan country, please don't come for me. Anyway, moving on. Politics. Let's talk about politics first and get the tough stuff out of the way. Maryland's motto is the Free State, which, I mean, yeah, if you consider the fact that you were in the South for the Civil War and you abolished slavery in 1864, sure, why not call yourself the Free State? It's not like you were my home state of Connecticut, who never believed in slavery. Maryland, below the Mason-Dixon line. Moving along, Maryland leans left, very left. Like when I say Maryland leans left, it's like this. That's how left it is. So Maryland is progressive, democratic, liberal leaning. It is a one-party state, and you'll get everything that comes with that. The county governments control growth here by calling it smart growth. They preserve a lot of green space, and there are housing programs, there are school programs, and significant gun control until recently. More on that in a moment. Virginia has long gone Republican since the beginning of time, but Northern Virginia's population really shifted the political leaning in most recent years. Things like Lee Highway, which was long named Lee Highway, or Washington Lee High School, have gotten renamed as Northern Virginia has tried to disassociate themselves with their Confederate roots. You'll still feel the origins of the history of Virginia as a red state, especially if you drive out of the metro area. I was in Gainesville, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes outside the city, and I saw somebody with a nice giant Confederate flag purse at the Wawa. It doesn't take long to get rural and to see a definite change in party. You'll even see it with the political signs. You don't have to go far outside the city to see Republican signs. So what the future holds is uncertain. Obviously, we just had a Supreme Court ruling on the same day, two on the same day, as a matter of fact, and it's in question what Virginia's approach will be toward abortion and if that will be limited in any way, shape, or form. And then Maryland, that used to actually require a valid reason for wanting to have a firearm, now has to do away with that since it's been declared a constitutional right. In Maryland, there definitely are rural and conservative parts of the state, but they don't control Maryland. In Virginia, close to half the state could probably be classified as rural and conservative. For a while, a high population of Democrats in Northern Virginia were starting to control the state, but in recent years, that has also been showing signs of a shift. And in the most recent election, the Commonwealth of Virginia now has a Republican governor. So you have to take that for what it's worth. All right, next topic, let's talk about education. So this is subjective, but Maryland schools are really kind of like a tale of two cities. So Montgomery County schools are uniformly seem to rank well, and they have many that are ranked on the notable lists where they rank public schools. Prince George's County schools do not rank as well overall, so if this is kind of what you're looking for, you really have to carefully consider specific neighborhoods in Prince George's County. These two counties are mostly the extent of the Maryland discussion, at least when it comes to Metro DC, because everything is a bit further north or south. Virginia has both county and city school districts, so there's definitely a lot more to consider. There's Arlington County, there's the city of Alexandria, there's Fairfax County, Prince William County, Loudoun County, and then you've got cities of Falls Church and Manassas and Fairfax, which also have their own districts. On U.S. News and World Report's 2022 list, the #1 high school of everything, not just in the area, the whole country, is in Alexandria, Virginia, and it is Thomas Jefferson High School. The next school in Maryland or Virginia that's on that list is number 104, which is Walt Whitman in Bethesda. And Walt Whitman is generally considered to be one of the top high schools in Maryland, at least by people who seek to be in that school district. So Langley High School in McLean, Virginia is at number 136, and McLean High School is at number 157. The next high school that ranks in the area is Wooten High School, which is in Rockville, Maryland, and that's at number 167. So there are definitely a handful of high schools that are in these highly ranked lists, and that obviously will translate over to real estate as well when we get there. So as far as where schools are better, this is obviously a draw. Maryland, Montgomery County at least is more highly sought after for the schools. Arlington County has also been noted for their schools, but in recent years it seems like overcrowding, among other issues like how they handled COVID, kind of resulted in Arlington County at least falling out of favor with people that used to be long-term fans and proponents of the county and the schools. So to get to the better Northern Virginia schools, generally speaking, you have to go a little bit further out. So you have to head toward Fairfax, Prince William, Loudoun, the other counties that are at least further from the metro area. When you're talking about state colleges, though, Virginia wins because it's got UVA, and you just can't beat the preference that you get as a Virginia high school student when you can get into the University of Virginia. So, real estate. So there are tear downs amok in both Maryland and Virginia, but it's less amok in Maryland. Maryland has a lot of rules. This is why I did laugh at the Marylinistan when I saw people referring to it as such on various message boards, because it's kind of accurate. When it comes to real estate, this is really no exception. They like their rules in Maryland. You're going to see less teardowns in Maryland, and whether that's due to the fact that the counties just aren't so great at approving them, or because, I don't know, the thought of somebody actually having to work with a county like Montgomery County to get a teardown approved is about as appealing as sticking onions under your eyelids. You are more likely to see a 50 to 80-year-old house that's been renovated several times over in Maryland than you would in Virginia. They just don't tear them down as much on the Maryland side, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen, for sure. Virginia, though, they love building. They love building things right up to the lot line. They have rules? What rules? Who knows anything about rules? Smart growth? What the hell are you talking about? Drive west and you'll crest a hill and all you'll see is rooftops of houses and townhouses. They like it dense. They like lots of houses. They like to build up to the lot line. I don't know if they even have a mission to preserve green space in Virginia. I have no idea. Regardless, you're gonna find teardowns that have like a house towering on the lot that go right up to the lot line. If that's what you want to do and you don't care, have at it. You'll have your choice. One interesting note, though, Arlington County has been talking about eliminating all of single-family house zoning this fall of 2022, which would be a pretty progressive housing reform, if I might say so myself, for Virginia. So prices in Virginia trend higher than in Maryland, at least in the most recent years, due probably to the fact that Virginia has become home to many companies and headquarters in the past few years, which we're going to cover in the next section. All right, so business and economy. Companies do not relocate to Maryland, period. You never hear about this. You always hear of big companies that are going to move to this area from elsewhere and they go to Northern Virginia. How often do you hear that about Maryland? Never. Amazon, Raytheon, Boeing, Nestle, more corporate headquarters are choosing to relocate to Northern Virginia. Tyson's is becoming a full-on city. Pentagon City is going to turn into a full-on city renamed National Landing when Amazon finally opens and puts all their people here. The roadways are being redone to create pedestrian centers, and there's no comparison to any of this on the Maryland side of the Potomac. If you're from the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, I can put it to you like this. Maryland is like Connecticut was to New York in the 1970s, and New Jersey is like the Virginia. No one was going to Connecticut because the taxes were too high and they weren't business friendly. Everybody was going to New Jersey and the businesses ended up down there. That's kind of like what's happening here. So if you prefer a quieter, more bedroom community with less sprawl, Maryland is probably better for you. If you really want to be like where the job centers are and more sprawl as a result, then Virginia is probably the better choice here. All right, next section is restaurants and lifestyle. So Maryland zoning seems to dictate that there's going to be just specific areas for retail and then everything else is residential. You actually see really good evidence of this and what this plan was supposed to be like when you get into the suburbs a little bit further out in places like Columbia, where you've got village centers and you don't really have you have little areas that each have their own designated retail, but it's not just spread all over the place kind of willy-nilly, like as if nobody gave thought to the zoning and how they wanted to plan the community out. So Virginia, though, does have retail all over. There's shopping centers here and there, and they're not really, there's no designated special areas. There certainly are retail strips and main drags that have retail, but you could be in a neighborhood and just find a neighborhood shopping center there as well, in addition to having, something around the corner or down the street. As far as vacation spots go, both states have beaches, but neither state has tons of coastline compared to something like the Carolinas or Florida. And Virginia does have wine country, the Shenandoah Valley, which many would probably argue would beat the vacation areas of Maryland, but Maryland has the Eastern Shore and St. Michael's, which is about as close to like a Martha's Vineyard as you can get here. There's also Assateague with wild horses that mill around the beach. People find this really charming. I am not one of those people. Please don't come for me. Traffic. Northern Virginia could arguably be more proactive about traffic. Traffic is definitely really bad in Virginia, as it is in the whole metro area. But Virginia's constantly trying to expand roads and highways and adjust to the growing population. They also instituted toll lanes on 66 and the Beltway. When I moved here in 2001, I was kind of astonished at what bad drivers Maryland has. It's actually kind of amazing. I don't get it. I've never seen anything like it. It's not just me either. If you try to perform a simple Google search, even Google can confirm this for you. If you type in YRMA and that's all you put in of the word Maryland, see what comes up as a suggestion. It's not too far down when it suggests why are Maryland drivers so bad. Taxes. So income taxes are actually the highest in DC, which is great because we're not talking about DC right now. We're talking about Maryland and Virginia. So following that, Maryland is the next highest, and then Virginia. In Virginia, once you hit $17,000 in income, anything in excess is taxed at the maximum rate, which is 5.75. In Maryland, you have to make $250,000 to get to the max tax rate of 5.75. However, Maryland has flat fees, so it kind of gets confusing. Let's just say, for the sake of example, you make $100,000. In Maryland, you're going to pay $7,800 in Maryland state taxes, and in Virginia, you'll pay $5,500. Virginia has personal property tax on vehicles, though, also RVs, trailers, and boats, and that could equalize depending on how many vehicles you have or personal property that they tax. Personal property tax is $4.13 per $100 of assessed value. So that can add up. If you've got a car that, is brand new, you're going to be paying a pretty penny for that. All right, conclusion. So politics aside, both states are diverse and they're populated with some of the most highly educated people in the country, and both states have a lot to offer. Locals who grew up in the area recall when Montgomery County was the premier place to live several decades ago. But Virginia kind of caught up, and even though it was like the less sophisticated little sibling to Maryland, it's definitely become more sophisticated and desirable, and it's drawn companies from the big leagues to relocate to Northern Virginia. I actually don't have a dog in this fight. I've lived in Maryland and DC. I've never lived in Virginia. I feel like I could be equally happy, though, living on either sides of the river. I love South Arlington. I think that many of the Alexandria neighborhoods on the Virginia side are amazing and awesome. But I also, I lived in Rockville and I loved it there too. And I loved it enough that I would do it again. I would also move to Virginia, but my husband's from Baltimore and he's one of the people that, nope, he has to stay on the Maryland side of the river. I live in DC now, but I do promise I could very easily live on either side and 100% don't have a dog in this fight. So I'm Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. If you want to talk more about living in Maryland, Virginia, or even DC, happy to chat. My contact info is coming next.